or else demonstrating the aggression that exists in the family they share their energy with. Make sense? As an example. Make sense? So there are teachers in that way. They're demonstrating what's going on within us. The other thing they're doing is they're healing us. How are they healing us?
They take it on. Love.
Yes,
Take it on.
that's right. Because our energy, we're sharing a space with them energetically. Everything's environmental. So our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, our points of view, our perspectives, radiating out from us, circulating around the fields. Here's our little innocent animal. He's not left analytical brain. He's not trying to figure out how to get along with his mother-in-law, how to pay the bills. He's just like, I'm in love. And he's like, oh, I feel that. Oh, it feels bad. Oh. And I was taking on all kinds of stuff. Oh, I got skin itches. Skin itches. What's skin itches? I don't know how to interact with my environment. Boundaries. So the animal's taking this stuff on, showing us, right? That's the second way. And what's the third way? Companions. Because they come to have an experience too. They're like, oh, I get to be a dog. Someone's going to take care of me. Someone's going to feed me. I don't have to work. I have a human to be my slave. Yeah, but you know, the thing is, see, the reason the animals do this, and they do this by sacred contracts. Check my time here. They do this by sacred contracts, and they make sacred agreements. Anyone know, you guys know what sacred contracts and agreements are? No? Yes?
Yes.
All right, so say, for those of you who said no, sacred contracts and sacred agreements are agreements we make because there is a law of free will. There is a law of free will, but the thing is, you don't really realize, we don't have a whole lot of free will here. We think we do, like your free will is like what dinner, what restaurant am I going to go to? Am I going to have red wine or white wine? What movie am I going to go see? You with me? That's like free will here in 3D. But really in the higher realms, free will is, I'm going to have an experience where I really learn compassion. How am I going to do that? I think I'll just have a little sweet, innocent soul come around and just demonstrate it for me 24/7. Right? Voila, comes the dog. Yeah. Or the cat. Right? Or I'm going to learn multidimensionality. You get this cat that's like peering through dimensions, hanging out with aliens and ETs, and maybe he's got some entities around him, and you can't understand why when you take a picture of him, he's got green eyes. This is like what our animals do. So, okay, so I get, this is how I tell stories. I get off track a little bit, but the point is all this stuff's going on. Our animals take these roles on for us. They're healing us. They're teaching us. They're sharing energy, and because they're not as plugged into the 3D reality, in other words, the matrix, they're really much more pure in that sense, for lack of a better word, and so they feel and sense the environment more consciously than we do, and they take that energy on what's being brought to them. So when you come home after a stressful day at work, or you have a disagreement with a relationship person, you bring that energy home into your house, the animal feels it and senses it and starts to mirror reflect it. And they do this, for the most part, quite consciously. And these are sacred agreements, that's what I was saying, that we make before we even incarnate. We agree to everything, and we have leeway. So just to finish up on the sacred agreements part, think of it like this way. You make a decision, you're going to go from California to New York. You're going to get in the car, you're going to drive from California to New York, and that's your agreement. And then you have a little choice along the way. Should I stop at this gas station? Should I have this car? What kind of car will I rent? Which hotels will I stay in? Bless you. And that's like free will choice in there. But no matter what you do, you're going to end up in New York. That's the sacred contract. So like the fact that we call this a microphone, this is a sacred contract. There's a sacred contract that this crystal's real, that it's pink, or call it like all this stuff, everything that exists is a sacred contract. So all the experiences we go through, these are all sacred contracts, sacred agreements we make. And of course we make them with our animal companions, that they play this role. Make sense? And in fact, all the stuff going on with the government, who's been listening to the ET stuff here? Yeah, and disclosure. This year is going to be a major year of disclosure. I could go into the numbers, but I won't go. That's like a distraction here. So all this stuff is contracts. We all agree to all of it. So if we take it back to Ascension, this idea of coming out of this 3D reality, one of the ways you help forgive, you help release it, is to realize, we agreed to go through all of this so we could experience separation. We needed somebody to keep us really unconscious. It was their job to make sure we stayed unconscious. So that's what conspiracy is. They just want to keep us unconscious because they're fulfilling their agreement for separation. Make sense? It gets a little easier to forgive them when you realize that was their role, to play the unconscious. We needed someone to play the bad guys. We wanted to play bad and good, light and dark. So it gets easier to make that shift, right? All the forgiveness, when you talk about how am I going to clear myself of the forgiveness and the resentments, when you start seeing there's some kind of gift in all of this, if I can find the gift, the gifts, the expanded consciousness that's going to help me shift over here, that's going to actually, there's some gifts in all of this. Like even the money system. The whole idea of the money system is to help people to learn fair energy exchange. Because you can't do stealing in 5D. You have to do, I love you, you love me, there's a fair energy here. Over here you can steal. You like taxes? What are taxes?
Theft.
Yeah.
What is it?
Theft.
It is theft.
Absolute theft.
It's absolute theft. However, the idea of taxes on a higher plane, let's use higher, relatively speaking, is to help people learn that you must be generous. You have to share, because remember this, let's apply the universal laws to money. What you circulate out, circulates, you radiate out. I spend $1 here, I float $1 into the world, I give it in love and joy, circulates out through the field, amplifies actually, and returns to me. But we don't know that in separation, because we're programmed to believe what I give out, there's less, right? Now I have less. That's a belief system that's not true. It's not aligned with the laws of the universe. So the idea of taxes actually, from a higher perspective, is to help us realize how important it is to circulate it out. Once you learn that lesson, you start to realize you can actually live free from having to pay taxes. It's not that you would never circulate out. You still circulate out. You'll circulate out even more. I circulate out so much because I'm just totally aligned with that concept of circulating in joy and love, giving to whatever I believe is great and wonderful wherever I see God, right? But that's a shift you need to make to get to 5D. So anyway, taxes are just one example. All of these lower constructs, I'm just using taxes as an example, illness as an example. The point is, when you start seeing the gifts in them and how they're serving, it becomes a lot easier to leave them here. You're like, oh, I got the lesson. I got the lesson of circulation. I got the lesson of abundance and prosperity. I got the lesson of giving and receiving. It's easy over here. Make sense? Everyone with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my kind of like ascension thing for right now. I want to talk about the DNA, but do I have any questions, comments, anyone? Yeah, I love questions.
Okay, I have 2 questions. So you said that thoughts and emotions and all like psychic actions on the 4th dimension.
I would say that, I would give it that label, yes, 4th dimension.
And so what is the 5th dimension? Did I miss that?
Yeah, you probably missed it. 5th dimension, I mean, I hope everybody understands it. 5th dimension is unity consciousness, where we start to really know ourselves, not just know with the left brain, experience, total body experience, total consciousness experience, oneness with every person, every animal, everything, Mother Earth, the crystals. There's an energetic frequency that you start embodying. It embodies you, all of us. It just feels like freaking love. It's like you're in love with everybody. And it's not even an act. It's not phony. It's like, I love you. Like, I love you. I can love you so wholly. I see your sadness, because you can feel that, right? So it triggers some inner knowing, the deep love that I can have for another being, because I recognize you as a reflection of me, and that all I really feel and experience in this vibration is love, and it's so sincere and so real. It's the embodiment of love. And it vibrates through our whole being. And it radiates out from us because we're energetically so aligned with this frequency of just love and peace and oneness. It's not an act. It's totally authentic. Is that helpful? I'll come to you in a second.
Yeah, I just want to understand. So we're not, doesn't mean like we're only spirit, because there's this thing about spirits, physical body and spirit. Like, does that have to do with that?
Okay, so I think if I understand your question, what you're looking for is, it doesn't mean we drop the body.
Okay.
And the answer is yes, that's correct. It does not mean you take your body with, we're taking our bodies with us. I can tell you I'm so not plugged into 3D anymore I just don't even have that kind of reality anymore. I am so unplugged from it. When people talk about what's going on the world stage, half the time I'm like, oh, is that what happened? Oh, you mean there was that going on? Like, I'm up here, I'm hanging out with angels all day, ascended masters. I'm having communication with intergalactic beings. I'm walking around on the beach frolicking, going, I'm in so much love. Like, I have interactions with people where, and it's real and it's authentic, it's not an act, and it's like just wishing the highest and greatest good for all beings and hoping for the highest and best for all of planet Earth, and holding space and doing energy work to lock in energy into certain points of the earth where we know there's energetic stargates, and we're connecting energy stargates through different points. Some of this stuff sounds crazy, but in 5D, none of it's crazy. And actually, we're going way beyond 5D. Once you get anchored in here, there's all kinds of stuff beyond that, but we're not here for that today. So anyway, I hope I addressed that, right? Because you're taking your body with you. This is the greatness. Nobody dies here in 5. No, you don't have to die. That might be a choice. A lot of people will still make that choice here. They just might choose not to ascend. They might choose to finish out this lifetime without choosing consciousness, and that's okay, because they'll have a real ascension after they cross over, that's another story. But prior to 2012, Earth was really kind of trapped in an energetic net, energetically. So if you crossed over, most of the time you wouldn't find your way out. You'd get met by these fake lords of karma. Yeah, these lords of karma would come and be like, we love you. Come on, let's have a life review. Yeah, didn't you suck? I gotta go back in. And let's just pull your memory out. It's all bullshit, that karma stuff, right? They're just not really benevolent beings. So anyway, but all that webbing, energetic webbing around the planet's been cleared since 2012. Nobody knew what was going on about 2012. We worked on the non-physical realm first. So we cleared that out. So now people who decide to cross over, and animals, they don't get trapped in this plane, this 4D realm. Right? What do they call 4D in religion? Purgatory. You get trapped in there because you're not love enough. You're not light enough. You're not pure enough. You get trapped. Lords of karma kick you back in. You don't have any memory. That doesn't happen anymore. So people who cross over now, don't worry. You don't have to really worry about those of your loved ones who just don't choose to awaken in this lifetime. It's all right. They're going to, finish out their lifetimes. Not everybody's going to choose it in this, in this generation. The older generations might not, even some of the younger ones. But anyway, okay, I think I could go on about that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Did you have a question? Let me check my time.
How much does it help or hinder to be around people who are also trying to do the same?
It helps. The more you're around higher vibrational beings, the more you're going to be elevated. And this is part of the Ascension experience, because we're sharing. Part of our awakening on planet Earth involves and requires us to share and give and receive, where we need each other to make it through this. Like, for example, one of the things, and this is what we're going to do when we do the meditation, is we do activate the dormant DNA, right? So, I haven't even talked about that yet. I could go on for hours about this stuff. But in order for you to activate any of your dormant DNA beyond the first two strands, like we know over here in 3D, your first two strands of DNA are basically your ancestry, right? And they show all of your ancestors' thoughts and emotions and beliefs, what they believed. So they believed they didn't have any sweetness in life, so there's a propensity for diabetes. They didn't get proper nurturing, there's a propensity for breast cancer, if we stay with those two examples, right? But so this shows up in the first two strands of DNA, and our unconscious belief system is you're a victim archetype of your DNA. Better get your breast cut off because there's nothing else you can do to heal them, right? Angelina Jolie is an example, right? Makes sense? That's what happens in 3D. But when you start hanging around other people who are already over here, what they've done is, someone like me, for example, and many of you, we've activated enough of our dormant DNA and our dormant potential. So what that does is the DNA within us starts firing off into the field, radiating out from us, the creator, this is a sacred agreement, and triggering off in the field codons in other beings. And it's going to awaken and activate something in you that's going to go, I think I'm going to go to the Conscious Life Expo. I think I'm going to go, I feel called to sit in this room. I don't know. I really got to get there. I got to get to that thing. So, you see, when you're around other beings who have been doing their inner work, that's going to fire off stuff in your unconscious, and assist you to awaken. And then you're going to go out and be around other people who might not even be as conscious as you were last week, and they're going to somehow get the benefit of what you did. So, yes, to answer your question. Hard answer. Okay, any other questions? Comments?
Fully conscious person to Trump-like person. How would that work?
Fully conscious person meets a Trump-like person. Fully conscious person goes, I love you. I bless you. I honor you. Thank you. I wish you your highest and greatest good, whatever that might be. See you later.
And you work with them every single day. There's this one person that I have that is in that arena.
Yes.
I work with him every single day. She was the epitome of a Trump person.
Right. Where does she exist within you? What is it in Trump that you dislike the most? What is it about the Trump person that bothers you, or upsets you, or triggers you, or whatever word you want?
Pretty much everything.
Okay. So let's list them out. Dictator, tyrant, misogynist, narcissist, egoist. List out the words, right? And then you need to look every one of those words. Where am I resisting and reacting to the dictator in me? Where am I resisting, reacting, and judging the tyrant in me? How am I out of alignment with this? How am I not in love? In love and acceptance of the fact that in separation consciousness, we created dictators, we created tyrants, we created misogynists. That's just part of this experience. And it's okay. And I'm done with it. So I love you. I bless you. I thank you. I have no false feelings towards you. I wish you the highest and best good, dictator, tyrant, whoever you may be. And I'm done with you. Thank you. And this is what happens. So this is a really good question, right? Because eventually when you do that enough, you won't have a resistance to it. And what will end up happening is either you'll get fired, you'll get a new job, you'll get promoted, you'll move on, that person will leave, something will happen, because what happens is, and this is what's happening, I didn't get into timelines at all. I'm not going to have too much more because now I got like 5-10 more minutes maybe to do talking. What happens is, you see, these vibrations, they shift. And so they become polarized, right? We can see the polarization on planet Earth right now, right? We see the polarization. So you're a Trump person and I'm a Hillary person, or that's one example of polarization, or you're in separation and I'm in oneness. You're unconscious and I'm conscious. You're religious and I'm spiritual. It's all polarity. And the thing is, what you have to understand, I'm saying you, but I mean all of us, is that these are just vibratory states of being, vibrational states of awareness, of consciousness. And our job, I mean at least my job, I know, is for me personally, I'm choosing and desiring and intending to align with the highest frequencies of love, light, and consciousness and oneness that I possibly can. That's my choice. And to be of service in the highest and best ways I can with harm to none, including myself. So what that means then is, as I'm continually on my path with my intention to do that and be that in all that I am and all that I do, I'm moving more and more away without resistance or reaction to the Trumpers or anyone else, with total acceptance and love to the best of my ability, peace and forgiveness. I'm shifting over here as so many other light workers are. And what we eventually realize is that polarity, it's not even in our field anymore. We're aware of it, but it can't even get close to us. It can't even touch us. Because our vibration, we become like angels in form. I use the word angels as an example because you know angels have no form. You see little lights, you see orbs, you see flickers, you see all kinds of things. You might even see winged, I've seen wings, like literally angels. And you know you can't touch them. You can't touch them. And I've had many angelic beings, not my guides that stick with me all the time, but many of them who have said, you know, I love you, but right now, I have this one guy, Bartholomew. He comes and he goes all the time. And he taught me the lesson, this angel being Bartholomew, a guide of mine. The lesson he was there to teach me was, I will be with you when you match my vibrational frequency. They're not all like that, but a lot of them are like that. Look, when you match my frequency, I'll be with you. If you're not, I'm not going to lower my frequency to be with you. So this is what happens with polarization, right? I'm not going to sacrifice myself for some hater over here. I'm happy to say to the hater, hey, I forgive you if you can forgive me, if you can forgive all there is. Let's go, come on this way. I'll hold the light. But I'm not coming over here to hate with you. So the idea, I'm just saying, using this as an example, what happens is we start to polarize, and what is a fractal? That's not the right word to use in this case. What is it's a dimensional split, really.
Fraction.
It's a fraction, right? What happens is this heaviness becomes so polarized. If I were to use like a stick here, let's just say this was a stick, and on this end I put something really light like a feather, and on this point I put something like a rock, this part would fall down. It just eventually would break off if it was a stick. The stick would break in half. Is this making sense? This is what's happening in our reality. This is very important to understand conceptually. We're not overlapping on the same timelines. In other words, different people are going to experience different realities. Haters are going to, people who believed for a while there was going to be World War III. Anyone believe it? Good for you, you made it on this side. Because in another dimensional reality, enough people believe that was true. For as far as I'm told, that has and could and likely existed in another parallel reality that's not our experience. You understand there's no, who said time was a dimension? Time is not a dimension. Time is a construct of the mind. It's a program in 3D. We are programmed to believe in time. So we're programmed to believe in linear time. We're programmed to believe in aging. Over here, there's timelessness. You can actually stop the aging process. I'm working on it. Yeah, activate enough of the DNA. You don't really do aging the same way anyway. So anyway, I was making a point from your question. I do that, like I went on to a whole story. But the idea is there's no linear time. What there are dimensions, moment to moment, fractals of reality. This reality now, this reality now. And what's happening is your consciousness is moving, shifting from awareness to awareness. This awareness, this awareness, this awareness. And it feels like a linear story because we made sacred contracts and we made agreements that there would be a linear story, right? But in reality, consciousness is paying attention to itself in any given moment of consciousness. It's having a conscious experience and awareness. It's writing a story of its history, meaning your life. Oh, this happened to me, then this happened to me, then this is going to happen to me tomorrow. So we're telling this linear story, and we're believing that that's what's happening, and we're believing that everybody else is having that experience with us, when in reality, this person's telling one story, and they're following that storyline. This person's telling another story, they're following that storyline. This person's telling another story. This person's story is, world's going to hell in a handbasket. This person's story is, we're all going to become computer programs, and AI. And this person's story is, there's going to be World War III. And this person's story is, there's going to be love and light. Which one's true? Yeah, the story you tell. And what's most important to understand is if you want to be on the love and light story, you cannot be on that track or that track or that track. Those tracks have I hate you, I judge you, you're bad, you're wrong, you're a Trump supporter. And I'm not judging you or making you wrong. I'm using a safe place to be really honest here. We have to make the choice. We get to make the choice. And I'm just sharing consciousness to the best of my ability of how to make the choices. Because I don't think anyone really wants to end up on the we all become androids and computer programs timeline. There was like a timeline, people almost fell into that timeline like the end of the world, 2012, right? Okay, yeah.
Can I just ask,
And
the
then I get-
download, the energetic downloads, they're intense for me.
Yes.
And I keep thinking, I read around like, okay, good, they're done. Maybe we're almost done now. Maybe we're done now. And you can't talk to anybody about them because you sound like you're crazy. So, I just have one friend. But is there any better way other than water, a great diet, lots of rest, and my
Yes.
spiritual practice? Is there better ways to deal with it so I can function physically? Because sometimes
Okay,
I'm
when you say function physically, I don't know if Gina's in here. Is there someone can get me water? Can I get some water? Is that all right?
Sparkling water, okay?
Yeah, there's a lot
Any kind of water that
energy.
will, no, I'd rather,
In a cup, right?
yeah, that would be great, thank you. Sparkling is not like, yeah, thank you though.
Do you mind my
All right, so no, I know, I'm here for that. So how do we adjust? Well, first of all, okay, the big healer is Mother Earth, nature. As much nature time as you possibly can.
Oh, yeah.
Barefoot on the earth. You definitely want to be energetically drinking tons of liquid chlorophyll. When I say tons, thank you so much. Dropperfuls in a glass of water multiple times a day, right? Does that make sense? Hold on a second, guys.
I forget about the nature thing. I've been shown in dreams like multiple times, like just go in nature, just go in nature. And it's like keep forgetting because we're in LA.
The thing is, you gotta ground, you gotta connect with the earth. Every time you step on the earth, say, I'm anchoring into 5D. I'm anchoring into 5D Gaia. In 5D Gaia, the new name of earth will be Gaia. So, and drink liquid chlorophyll because it's an animal so good for our animals. Liquid chlorophyll or just chlorophyll, or chlorella, spirulina, the green stuff, right? That really helps stabilize the body, those two things. And just breathing, a lot of deep breaths. But understand the energy is intense right now because your body is shifting, so it's a gift. And even though it's very, sometimes uncomfortable, like when I was going through those activations in Hawaii, I talk about this a lot. I would go through, and I was really, really intense activations. I'd go home after like 3 hours of energy work in a really intense group. I'd lay on the couch, and my body would start doing what I call floppy fish syndrome. Because I couldn't hold the charge. I couldn't hold it.
It's exhausting.
So it's cool, and yet it's weird, and it's uncomfortable, and there's like heart palpitations sometimes, and there's weird different sensations. Sometimes you're like overheated, sometimes you're underheated, sometimes you're cold, like sometimes there's hormonal shifts. Understand hormones are a program. And I can go on about this stuff forever. So it's uncomfortable, but welcome it in the sense, because it's a good sign. You're shifting from a carbon-based body to a light body, a crystalline body. And that means you're going through an evolution. It's real.
Yeah.
We are rapidly evolving.
There's just no way it's not real because it's been so massive for the past few years.
Right, because you're a knower. You're a knower. So welcome to the land of knowers. Okay, let's talk really briefly about the DNA, and then we're going to do the meditation. And I've got like 5 minutes to say about the DNA. So, has anyone ever done a DNA activation actively? 1, 2, maybe 3, 4. All right. So, good. Okay. So, here's the thing about the DNA. My problem is once I go into the meditation, I can't slow it. I could go for an hour in that. But the thing is understand we have these first 2 strands of DNA in 3D reality that we just thought they're, tell us who we are, and they talk about our ancestry, our genetics. But what we know we have is an additional at least how many strands?
12, 24, 48.
Yeah, depending on who you talk to, right? But we know for a fact, scientific validation, that there's an additional 10 strands of DNA that up until 2012 was labeled as junk. In 2012, enough credible, Russian scientists published this in multiple credible scientific journals that this dormant DNA is not junk, it's dormant, and therefore it's good for something. Let's see what it's good for. Let's just test it for another 20 years and try to figure it out. Well, I can tell you what it's good for. What is it good for?
Clairvoyance.
Clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance. Everyone's a healer. You heal yourself, your body gets healed, age regeneration, rejuvenation, stopping, just stopping all sickness, stopping all illness, stopping all separation. Suddenly you're at one with the wall, or you can walk through the wall, or you can levitate, you can fly, you can go into a room and then suddenly blink and think you're some other part of the planet. How did I end up here? Oh my God, I did this with my consciousness. It's all possible, and we've barely begun to awaken that stuff. So the idea is that as we awaken